Preventing and Managing Burnout. Canada Life Workplace Strategies for Mental Health provided the information and slides in this video. For more information, go to workplacestrategiesformentalhealth.com. The first objective is to help you stop from getting to the point of burnout. It's a difficult place to be and can take a long time to recover from. The second goal is for those of you who are already there to help you put strategies in place to better manage your life in burnout and to support your own recovery. The World Health Organization defines burnout as resulting from chronic workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. Others describe it as serious mental, physical, and emotional exhaustion because of stressful work conditions. Both employees and employers share a responsibility in effectively preventing burnout. Employers can create work environments and cultures that reduce the risk of burnout for all employees. There are many resources available for employers to take action. Today, we want to empower you with strategies that can help you protect yourself from burnout. Stress is inevitable. It's unreasonable to expect that we can avoid it at work. We can, however, impact how that stress affects our physical and mental well-being. So how do we do that? So, do we just look on the bright side? Or do we think happy thoughts? Or just take a little bit of time off? Although these strategies are not bad in and of themselves, they're not effective in either preventing or managing burnout. Before we get to what is effective, let's consider some of the risk factors that make burnout more likely. As these are shared with you, consider which ones you identify with. Are you someone who expects too much of yourself much of the time? Are you someone who never feels that what you do is good enough and that you could always and should always do better? Are you someone who feels that no matter how much effort you put into your work, it's never really appreciated? Are you someone who feels that demands at work are impossible or unreasonable to meet? Or are you someone who's in a role that is not a great fit for your skills and strengths? Any of these can make burnout more likely. Now let's look at some of the things that can impact our ability to prevent burnout. In her book called Sacred Rest, Recover Your Life, Renew Your Energy, Restore Your Sanity, Dr. Sandra Dalton-Smith discussed those who experienced burnout. They claimed that even in the time leading up to burnout, they were getting the recommended 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night and therefore thought they should be adequately rested. What they didn't understand is that sleep was not enough. Let's look at all 7 types of rest Dr. Dalton-Smith defined. Physical rest includes sleep and can also be achieved with activities like yoga or massage that help relieve physical fatigue or tension. Next is sensory rest. This is where we take a rest from screens, lights, noises, smells, any of the things that can cause our senses to feel overwhelmed. While unplugging is probably the most effective, you can take a moment to just close your eyes or use noise-canceling headphones to take at least a partial rest. Next is emotional rest. There are really 2 parts to this. One is taking a rest from people-pleasing, and the other is being able to be authentic about your own needs. This is having some time and space in the day to freely be your authentic self and not just someone who's of service to others. Next is mental rest. This is for those who can never stop the chatter in their mind. They're always thinking or problem solving or even just engaging in self-talk, but are never able to have an actual rest from the mental activity. The more mentally draining your work is and the more intensely you have to pay attention or think, the more important mental rest is. While an hour of mindfulness meditation would of course be lovely, taking just 2 minutes of quiet every 90 minutes or so to stop the endless mental chatter is also effective. Next is a rest from creative energy. If you're someone who's always thinking about how to solve problems or brainstorm new ideas, create, build, or fix, you may need some time to just be and appreciate what already exists. That quiet sense of wonder takes a lot less energy than always being busy creating and doing. Next is social rest. There are some people who energize us and some who drain us. A social rest is where you have more of the first one and less of the second one. If you happen to live with the people who drain you or otherwise can't avoid them, you can gain some rest simply by not engaging with those people for a while, to whatever extent is possible. Next is spiritual rest. This type of rest isn't really about any belief or religion, but is about taking a rest from the feeling that you're responsible for everything that happens in the world. If you're continually watching the news and feeling that you haven't done enough to stop suffering or climate change or to end poverty or war, you may need a spiritual rest. It's about letting go of the thought that you're in control of everything and about a deeper sense of self-acceptance and a connection to something greater than yourself. This can be simply a connection to nature that exists without any agenda, regret, or need to prove itself. The point of all this is to say that if you're feeling exhausted, it helps to recognize that sleep alone is not enough. You need to also consider other types of rest that may be missing from your life. Think of some of the strategies you already use to manage stress at work. Perhaps you will want to pause the video and record some of your most effective strategies for when you're feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, or exhausted. Now I will share some that have been particularly helpful for people who have experienced burnout. Strategy 1. Change things up. A group of individuals who experience clinical depression agreed that one thing that helped prevent them from getting worse is changing things up. People who recovered from burnout expressed that same strategy was helpful to them. For some, this meant changing the route they took to drive to work. For others, it meant changing their workspace. For some, it was even changing their hairstyle, the food or substances they consumed, the TV or social media they watched, or how they spent their downtime. The most important piece was not exactly what they were doing that led them to the current state. Strategy 2. Slow it all down. Because someone who is in or approaching burnout may be experiencing racing or chaotic thoughts, the most important thing of slowing down is trying to slow down the mind. This can be done in whatever way works for you, whether it's taking a break, meditation, or reading a book. Slowing down the mind at a time when it's overactive is critical self-care. But it's not only the mind that you want to slow down. If you intentionally slow down the way you talk, you're much less likely to say things you regret or things that are confusing or misleading to others. When you slow down the way you move, not only can that reduce tension in your body, but it may also prevent injuries and accidents. Slowing down is an effective coping strategy whenever you're stressed, and is also helpful in preventing and managing burnout. Strategy 3. Prioritize. There are 2 parts to this strategy. The first one is work-related. Asking your manager to help you prioritize the tasks you must do is especially important at a time when you either feel that everything is critical, thereby putting a lot of pressure on yourself, or when you can't decide which is most important, causing a different kind of stress. By asking your manager to help you prioritize your tasks, you gain clarity about what they value and will likely feel less pressure to see everything as urgent. This is also a good opportunity to help your manager understand all the tasks that are currently assigned to you. The second part of prioritization is more personal. Part of the stress that leads to burnout is feeling that whatever you do is not enough, and even that you're letting people down. By prioritizing actions that make you feel good about yourself, you can help reverse this negative thinking pattern. These should be easily accomplished actions like making a loved one laugh, calling someone you know might be lonely, or smiling at strangers on the street. The intention is to have a way each day of knowing that you accomplished something that was important but not urgent, something that mattered to you or to others. Strategy 4. Stop trying to multitask. Multitasking is a myth. The human brain cannot focus on 2 things at the same time. When you think you're multitasking, what you're actually doing is shifting your focus from one thing to another. When we're dealing with extreme stress or burnout, this constant shifting is not only exhausting, but it can also lead to mistakes and reduce the quality of your decisions and your work. It can also distract you so much that you begin to damage relationships. Choosing to focus on only one thing or one person at a time is a strategy that can be very helpful. In relationships, whether you're talking to your boss, a coworker, a client, partner, or child, giving them your full attention, even for a couple of minutes, can make a very positive difference. One technique that might help you pay full attention when it's so easy to be distracted by other demands or your own thoughts is to repeat in your mind what the other person is saying while they're saying it. Try this with me right now. As I continue to talk, say what I am saying in your mind and see how much more you are focused. When you aren't trying to come up with responses or being distracted by other demands on your attention, paying attention to the person in front of you can help you avoid misunderstandings or making someone feel dismissed or that you're disinterested. The other part of doing one thing at a time is related to the task at hand. Blocking time when you're not being interrupted by calls or emails allows you to use whatever energy you must focus on the task you're working on. This can help you reduce mistakes and the need to start over again each time you're distracted. Strategy 5. 60-second breaks. If you can't stop for an hour or even 20 minutes, can you stop for just 60 seconds? Setting a timer for 60 seconds is helpful because when you're in a state of urgency or stress, even 10 seconds can feel like too much time is being wasted. By setting the timer, you can sit with your eyes closed and physically relax for the full minute and feel your central nervous system calming down. This simple act can make a huge difference between you pushing forward and you being able to reset and move forward in a healthier way. If you believe you can't do this in a busy work or home environment, consider taking your timer into the washroom and closing the door. Most people should at least allow you 60 seconds in the bathroom alone. It's important to notice when your focus is low or your frustration level is high. These are the ideal times to take this 60-second break. Strategy 6. Reach out. The thing about burnout is that there isn't a pill to take to recover from it. You need to change things in your life to allow you to replenish what's been depleted. It'll take time. But reaching out to family, friends, coworkers, leaders, or therapists can help you to put what you've been through in perspective so that you can objectively and effectively discover what it is that will replenish you. Whoever you trust to reach out to can also support you into committing to taking the actions that'll work for you. Now I want to ask you a question. Can work be enjoyable? There is work stress and ways to help manage that better, but what if the biggest stressor is that you just don't like what you're doing? Are there ways to deal with that? Think about how you can take work that you don't like and make it more enjoyable so that you can better tolerate going to work each day. Be creative but realistic. Your answers should not harm anyone else and should be acceptable under current organizational policies. Steve Pavlina, author of Personal Development for Smart People, shared some advice about making work more enjoyable. The first piece of advice is to break up long stretches of repetitive work. Take a break, do something else for a while if possible, then come back to it, rather than push yourself through for hours and hours. The next piece of advice is to add a little bit of balance by having time to work alone as well as time to work with others. If possible, do some physical work and some mental work. If you have back-to-back meetings, see if you can take that 60-second break in between, or take on some meetings while standing or walking if possible. The next strategy is to make your workspace a place where you want to be. This means adjusting the light, sound, or comfort, or adding items you enjoy looking at like art, posters, or photos if possible. For some, it just means taking 5 minutes to tidy up or organize. Another way to make work more enjoyable is to engage with others. That might mean asking someone's opinion about the work you're doing, or discussing last night's hockey game, or inquiring about their family. Having social connections at work, having someone you can take a break with or go to lunch with can make the day much more enjoyable. This is true whether you're working from home or on site. For example, if you work alone from home, you could arrange to meet a neighbor for lunch. Sometimes the work we're paid to do isn't the work we'd enjoy most. In some workplaces, you can volunteer to take part of a committee or task force that does something that's more interesting to you. But even if this isn't available, consider volunteering for a cause you enjoy outside of your working hours to give yourself that sense of contribution and accomplishment. While this may sound like adding work in your life, if it involves something you find fulfilling like coaching, art, or socializing, it's unlikely to feel like work. Now I'd like to introduce you to a couple of other strategies that can help prevent burnout, but are more comprehensive and won't be fully explored in this video. The first resource is the 4 A's strategy, which was adapted from the University of Chicago's work. It's a way to help you use objective reasoning to deal with stressors you feel are impossible to eliminate and are emotionally distressing. It walks you through a process of considering the pros and cons of accepting the things and people you can't change, avoiding unnecessary stress while coping with unavoidable stressors, altering your external environment in a way that reduces stress, and adapting how you think about and interact with the stressor. This approach can help you move forward from very difficult situations and stressors. Although we don't have time to go through this exercise today, more information can be found at the Workplace Strategies for Mental Health website. Another great resource is something called Name, Claim, and Reframe. Name, Claim, and Reframe is an entire process that you can learn to help you manage your own stressors as they come up. The steps are to first be able to name the thoughts, decisions, assumptions, or conclusions that go through your mind during a time of extreme stress. If you can learn to identify it in the moment, you'll be much better able to question or challenge the truth of those thoughts. Often the thoughts that we have may be negative and not the whole truth. Learning to question the story that we're telling ourselves about a situation or stressor can help us get to the second step, which is to claim our power and control over the thoughts and emotions that are being triggered. Once we can do that, we're ready for the final step, to reframe the situation or stressor in such a way that we're able to move forward in the healthiest way possible. If you want to access the tools that support you to name, claim, and reframe, more information can be found at the Workplace Strategies for Mental Health website. As we shared in the beginning, one strategy is to change things up. This includes rethinking how you'll show up in the world. If you want to prevent burnout or recover from it, you need to prioritize joy and energy. I can't tell you how to do that, but there are a lot of choices. Take the time to understand or discover what it is that fills you up and energizes you, which is the opposite of what burns you out and drains you. There are unhealthy strategies that can distract us or numb us from our stress, but many of these simply create other stressors because of the negative impact they can have on our health, our work, and relationships. We're going to focus on some alternatives. Maybe you need something that relaxes, resets, renews, or refreshes you. This might mean massage, yoga, reading, dancing, painting, exercise, or meditation. Some of these actively energize your body, some of them help relax your mind, and some may just bring you joy. Think about all the different forms of rest we discussed earlier and choose the one you feel you need and that may work best for you. Maybe what energizes you is creating, designing, or building through art, woodworking, blogging, or drawing. Maybe it's repairing, organizing, or clearing out closets or drawers. Don't laugh if that's not your thing. For some people, it can be both energizing and relaxing. For others, it could be learning something new, learning to play an instrument, cook a gourmet meal, or try a new sport, for example, can be energizing. Many of us have lost our ability to play, to get lost in something that is just fun for the sake of fun rather than a means to an end. This can be outside in nature or at any location, including online games. Whatever allows you to enjoy and be energized, but remember that if the activity drains you, it doesn't qualify. Finally, some people are energized by contributing or volunteering for charities or in their community. There really is no right or wrong when finding what energizes you, but it's important to be persistent in discovering what it is, then integrating those moments into your life to increase your joy and energy. We've shared many different ideas and strategies to prevent or manage burnout, and I know it's unreasonable for you to try to implement all of them. Now that you've viewed this video, think about one thing you'll do differently now and going forward based on what you've learned today. This could be something that was on a slide or your own idea. WorkplaceStratigiesForMentalHealth.com has more information and tools that may be helpful for you. Everything on this website is available at no cost in both English and French.